it can be kind of challenging working with someone, especially if they're bigger than you. There are lots of strategies. I'm not a huge person. I work with lots of people who are taller, bigger, wider, of different dimensions, and can't physically help a lot. And there are ways to do that that can protect yourself, especially if you have a vulnerable back or vulnerable knees. So we can talk about some of those issues as well. So there is a handout. If you haven't received an email yet, you will. It kind of summarizes some of the content that I'm going to be talking about first, just some basic principles, and then we'll get into some demonstrations so you can see how we're doing some of these setups. So for each of these transfers that we're going to be talking about today, there's some basic principles. One basic principle is to prepare. If you can plan ahead the best you can, make sure you've got all the equipment that you need, the shoes, the socks, make sure the space is clear. Because if you're helping somebody transfer from one position to another and say, oh, shoot, I forgot to get their shoes and they're in the next room, but I can't leave them in this position. This is not safe. Then we have to go get back and start all over again. And it gets a little bit, it can either be dangerous if you leave them alone or it can be just inefficient. So talking about kind of preparation, preparing the area, getting all the equipment before you even start the transfer. And the other thing that's kind of a general principle is making sure that you've communicated well with the person you're working with, regardless of their cognitive status, so that they know what you're going to do. So obviously, if somebody has some severe cognitive issues where they may not even be able to follow some simple instructions, they can at least understand your tone and your kind of body language. So it's still worthwhile explaining, hey, we're going to get into the bed and we're gonna roll over because it's almost bedtime, or we're gonna get out now because we're gonna get ready to have some breakfast. So what I'd like you to do is we're gonna roll onto your side first when I say three, 1, 2, 3, something like that, so that you're working together. If they understand what you're going to do, at least to the best of their abilities, it's not so scary. Because sometimes it's really scary to trust another person to help with a transfer, because they have to kind of relinquish some level of control. So if they trust you, understand, and you are in good communication, that kind of sets the stage for kind of success. Um, so that's kind of the primary I think things to prepare before you do that any kind of transfer. Um, Other some basic principles of physics is anytime you're going to lift something or someone that's kind of heavy, getting the object or the person as close to you as possible. They are lighter if you're closer and you're moving as a unit rather than trying to pick somebody up or help somebody who's further away from you. Basic physics principles. We're kind of, again, it'll make more sense when we go over to the specific transfers. And then try not to lift, try rather to shift. So if you can shift your body weight forward, backward, side to side when you're getting ready to help somebody go from sitting to standing or getting out of bed, it's a lot easier than trying to lift someone. So regardless of how strong you are, if you try to bicep curl a human being, it can be really challenging. So if you can use your body weight properly, you can be a lot more effective. Let's see. And then making sure that you're in kind of a good body position, wide basis support, standing properly, and getting into kind of an athletic stance. Because some of these transfers, it's a physical job to be able to help someone get from one position to another. So we want to kind of get you into kind of an athletic position so that you can do this as effectively. And I'll show you what we mean by athletic position. So we're going to go ahead and go through the ones we're going to talk about today. And then once I demonstrate some basic principles that I think are kind of a common denominator for all of us that are working with someone getting in and out of bed, in and out of chairs. And chairs, I would say toilets it's very similar, getting on and out of a wheelchair, getting on and out of a chair, and getting on and off of a toilet, some basic principles, but then I'll talk about some things that might be unique to those specific locations. Okay, so we're gonna go bed position. We're gonna go rolling. We're gonna go going from lying down in a bed to sitting up in a bed. We're gonna go from the bed to the chair or wheelchair, and then we're gonna do some spotting or guiding when you're walking with someone, just so that if they were to fall, it's chances of them actually having a full impact fall to the ground are minimal. And then let's see, And then we'll do some of those in both reverse order. So forward and backwards, getting in and out of all of those settings. And then, like I said, I'd love to hear your specific questions. Well, I definitely have time for that. If you have something that you're struggling with, say, you know, I just can't figure out how to get them. We will not be doing car transfers today as a demonstration, but I know that's happened in the past where some folks have had some questions about how to get them in and out of a car. So we can mock, if that's anybody's struggle, we can mock that transfer and problem solve a little bit together. So start thinking about your specific questions and your specific concerns. And then when we get to that, we'll open that up. So I'll spend about 10 or 15 minutes here with some of these demonstrations, and then we'll get right into your specific issues or questions. That sound okay? All right, so let's see. We're going to start. I'm going to see, hopefully the camera angles are all, we did a little trial. We might remove this here. Go ahead. Let's see if we can do this. You're gonna have to just pick her up. Okay. Here we go. Sorry. A little technical. We'll get just a second to get the camera angles right. If you get the light on, that'd be great. Okay. All right, come on over. So we've got 2 of my 3 children here. They just got out of school, so they're available. So we've got Drew here, just promoted from 8th grade this morning. So he's going to be helping us out. I'm going to start with some bed positioning. If that camera angle doesn't look great, please shout out and let me know if you can't see something that might be helpful. Okay, so first I'm just going to talk about kind of some positioning in bed. In the ideal, most comfortable position to even be in bed, we want to make sure we've got something under the leg, some kind of a support. These are general principles. There are some unique situations where this would not be ideal, but we want to have them in a position where obviously they've got a good pillow. We've got something not just under the knees, but really under the thighs, all the way up to kind of the pelvis, so that the back is flat and comfortable. So this is the ideal position for somebody to be if they're sleeping on their back or lying on their back. Now, if you've got somebody, can you hear me okay? Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay. We have air conditioning on, so if that's loud, I can turn that off. I want to just make sure you can hear what I'm saying. Okay, so this is the most ideal position. Remember that if you've got somebody who's spending a lot of time in bed, every 2 hours minimum, they've got to change positions to minimize bed sores. So that means being on their side or partially on their side. Do you mind grabbing maybe one more pillow for me? So if they could be even partially on their side, that might look like this. Thank you. That might look like this. They could be, I'm going to put a little wedge here. And even that little bit, if being completely side lying is uncomfortable, so for some people, it's not a real stable position, but having a pillow or something under one side can redistribute some of that pressure. So that would even qualify as a little bit of a change in body position. The vulnerable, you probably already know this, but the vulnerable locations for bed sores, for anybody who spends a considerable amount of time in one position or is unable to change positions, you have to keep in mind their backs of their heels, their sacrum or their low back tailbone area, the back of their heads, and even some of the shoulder blade area if they're real bony. So just kind of do skin checks periodically for anybody who's not able to change positions very often to make sure that they're not getting bed sores. So keeping an eye on any redness. And then you can just change positions like so. So they could be on their back or on a side or partial side lying every 2 hours minimum. During the night, if they're real vulnerable to bed sores, there are certain kinds of beds that you can be eligible for. Like if that's the scenario that you're in, we can talk about that later. Different kinds of beds that you could use. But we're going to just kind of go over some general principles here first. Okay, so I want to talk about changing positions from being in a supine or lying on your back position to being on your side. So there's a few things that can help. One other general principle I'll say first is that let your patient do as much as they can to help. So if they can help a little bit, let them help a little bit. It'll make it easier for you and you'll be working together. So even if they can do a little bit, if I can say, hey, can you bend your knee for me? Go ahead and bend your knee, just this one. You can go ahead and bend this knee up. Great. So if he can do that, I'm going to let him do that. We're going to go ahead and do it right now. So I'm going to help him to roll over on his side. I'm going to have him go towards me, which is easier. So if they're going to go from a back position to a side position, bring them towards you for a few reasons. It's better for your body mechanics, and you form a barricade so they're not going to fall off the edge of the bed, and they don't feel like they're going to fall off the edge of the bed, because it can be kind of scary to feels like you're too close to the bed. Then we can go onto your side. So I'm going to think about when I'm going to help him transfer from a lying on his back to a side lying position, I'm going to take the shoulder and the pelvis as a unit. So I'm going to have him go up, bend these, and I'm going to take him and I'm going to say, now we're going to go onto your side, roll towards me, and we're going to go like this. So that's a really nice, easy way for him to go from that position to this position with very, very minimal effort from me. A sheet can be used if they're real big and long. I've worked with some people who are I really have a hard time helping them with their whole body because they're just a tall person. But for somebody who has a height that you have a good ratio, you can usually do it in this way. Okay, great. Okay, so if we're gonna go, I'm gonna show it on this view first. I'm gonna have him go from again, supine, lying on his back to his side, and then we're gonna sit up. I'm gonna do it towards me just for the camera angle's sake. So if I were to do it on the other side, my back would be to you, so it wouldn't be such a great view. Okay, we're gonna go again. We're gonna go onto your side, so I'm gonna help him roll over towards me. Now, when he wants to help him sit up, again, if he can do it himself, let him do it himself, or even some of it. But if he is totally dependent on me, or at least partially dependent on me, here's how I would set it up. We want to help him get his feet off the edge of the bed. So I'm going to have him curl into a ball. I'm going to lower his feet, and I'm going to go underneath, not grabbing his arm, but underneath his shoulder blade and not grabbing his head. And then I'm going to use a little bit of a fulcrum on his pelvis and his shoulder to help him sit up. So I'm kind of doing this action, this motion to help him get up. So I'm really not working very hard. And I'm going to show it one more time. So again, once he's on his side, I'm going to bring his knees up towards his chest, let his feet hang off the edge. I'm going to reach under his shoulder blade, and I'm going to push on his pelvis to help him up. So I can work with somebody who's 300 pounds with my body size and do this for most people who are, even if they're not able to help very much. Okay, I'm going to have you switch over to the other side. Looks like there's some stuff in the chat, so I'm just going to take a peek here. Let's see. Could you please, photo of taking care. I'm not sure I understood.
I think they were referring to the slide that I showed for our flyer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah, but
okay.
I can email that out. And then I see another comment that it says they need help with catching backward falls. So the
Yes.
walker,
Wonderful. I'm going to
yeah.
go through that in just a minute. If I don't answer your question, Marian, please ask it again, because we're going to go over the walking part a little bit later. Okay, so let me minimize chat for a second. All right, so now we are sitting here at the edge of the bed. Okay, so once he's sitting here, again, I want to make sure he's safe. So if he doesn't have a lot of postural control, I want to make sure that I'm with him in this position so I don't leave. Again, that's a great reason to make sure I've got everything I need to help him. We've got the wheelchair that's right here ready. If that's our plan, is to go into the wheelchair. I've already got it right here next to me. I've got his shoes. I've got everything I need that's right here. So we're ready to get up. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen or maybe even used a gait belt before. I think the gait belt can be really helpful, especially Marian, your question about helping to minimize the risk of falling, especially with walking. So the gait belt can be really helpful just for spotting. I can keep one hand on the belt itself. So you can pick these up online. They're not expensive and they're really helpful for just making sure that I can spot him or help him. And if he did fall, I'm much more likely to catch him, especially if you're working with somebody who wears a lot of like dresses and gowns and doesn't wear pants with a belt. This can be really helpful. Okay, so once we go, let's see, go from sitting to standing. I have a walker here that I will use for a little demonstration of getting into this position. So if he's going to be going from the bed to the walker itself, I'm going to see if I can move it over just a little bit so it's nice and even. Okay, so he's in kind of a dangling position for his feet. So I want to make sure he's getting close enough to the edge. If your patient or person has balance issues, if they're holding on to something when transferring, even with one hand, transferring from one piece of equipment to another, it's not nearly as scary than if I say, okay, now we're going to stand up. It seems really, really scary because there's nothing to hold on to. So if they can't stand alone, make sure they're holding on even before. So that way he feels a little bit secure. And then when we get ready to transfer onto standing, I've got him right here. So I've got one hand, if you could turn just for a second, I've got one hand behind him on the gait belt, and I've got one hand under his shoulder. So that way I'm not grabbing his arm, because if he does lose his balance, I don't want to yank his arm. That's not going to be very comfortable, and it may not even catch a fall. This glare is funny. Let's see. I don't know. Tell me if the glare is a little funny. Do you want to pin it there? And see, is there a way for me to see what they're seeing here? Let's see. Can you try to do that here? Yeah. You put it there. That way I can see if they can see. Yeah, the glare is a little funny, but all right, not too bad. Okay, good. So again, I've got once he's standing, I've got one hand on his gait belt and the other hand on his arm. So if he's in this position, and not only, if you could turn for just a second, not only am I holding the belt here, but I could also just stay here for a second. I'm going to grab this side just so you can see. I can, my hand is going to be here. If I hold this, this is going to be a little bit yanky, a little bit uncomfortable. So if I'm going to really support him, I'm going to use my forearm against his back, and I'm going to hold onto the gait belt like this. And I'm going to have the other hand right around his shoulder. So the other hand is like here and here. So he's really secure. So if he falls backwards, forwards, any direction, if I use my body weight well, I'm much more likely to help him prevent a fall. If he's close to me and I've got kind of optimal body contact there, he's going to be really secure. He's going to feel secure, and he's going to actually be more secure. So let's look at a few different transfers. If we're not using a walker, and maybe we're going directly from the bed to the wheelchair. So go ahead and sit up here again. So I've just got a regular chair here, but the same principles are going to apply whether I'm going onto a wheelchair or a chair. So he's going to get as close to the edge as he can. Now there's kind of two primary ways. If he's got good use of his upper body and he's strong and can kind of follow instructions, he's going to reach for the armrest on the wheelchair. If he reaches for that, then he's secure. He's holding on to something. Sorry, I don't have a wheelchair right here with me. But he would be holding on to that. And then I would be able to help him stand up and turn and sit down, kind of as a pivot. So if he's holding on to something, he's secure, and all I have to do is stand, turn, and pivot, and he can sit. Now, if he can't reach with his arm or help at all, I'm going to have him hold on to my shoulders. So go ahead and stand up here. So then he's going to put his arms on my shoulders. And when I get ready to stand, I'm going to lean back. I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to sit with him. So that way we're moving as a unit. Same thing if we're going the opposite direction. We're getting ready to stand up. Watch, I'm not going to pick him up. I'm going to lean back, and we're going to come up as a unit. We're going to turn, and then we're going to sit. So that way it's much more, we're working as a team. We're working kind of all together. And I'm explaining to him every time, here we go. Just lean right into me. We're going to stand up, and tell them, even if they've got cognitive issues or get kind of combative with memory issues, If you explain, hey, we're gonna go into your chair so we can be safe, or we're gonna do this so we can go eat breakfast. It's just, you're gonna have a lot more buy-in that we're gonna do this together, and it feels safe, it feels secure, and you're much less likely to have a little bit of a battle with it. Okay, any questions on that one before we go on to walking? Let's see if there's any, lost my glasses. Around my shirt. Okay, are there any questions before we go on to the next part? Either something that you've that we just did, or something that you've struggled with bed transfers or chair transfers. You can throw it in the chat, or you can just open it up. We've got to see if I can make sure I can see the chat.
I was going to ask, hi, my name is Jessica.
Yes.
My father has fallen out of bed a few times, and it's been a challenge to get him back up onto the bed.
Okay, so that's going to be a floor transfer. Let's do that. Let's do that now. A floor transfer can be difficult. I'm going to show you a few different ways to get somebody off the floor. I'm going to ask you, in your case, Jessica, is your father, you said your father?
Yes.
Is he able to help?
It really depends on what state of mind he's in.
Okay.
Sometimes he crisscrosses his feet,
Hmm.
and even though we uncrisscross his feet, he like goes back into that Indian style as he's laying on the ground.
Okay.
So he can't move. And at that time is when we usually need my husband to
Yeah.
fully pick him up because he's like immobile. Other
Okay.
times he can help. And, you can ask him kind of like you did with your son. You can ask him to, like, okay, grab a hold of me. I'm going to pick you up, and you kind of pick up together. But it's a hit and miss.
Okay. Yes, I see. Okay. So getting off the floor, can you just sit right on the floor here? Yeah, but I want it right behind you. I mean, have it facing the same direction it was. You can just move it back just a hair. There you go. Good. Okay. So let's see if I can move this over just a little bit. Okay, so if he's on the floor, so I'll go ahead and sit down on the floor. So let's say he fell down and he's on the floor and you're trying to get him up. So there's a few different strategies for getting him off the floor. If he can't help a whole lot, really a two-person help is pretty necessary. Very rarely would you be able to do it with one person on your own. So it's very difficult. So what I would do, can I borrow you, Kira, for this one? So if you can get a chair, or either a wheelchair or a chair, if you can be on that side over there. If you can have a wheelchair or a chair as close to him as possible. And then what you're gonna do is I'm gonna do this out. You're gonna be able to have him bend his knees. If he can bear some weight on his legs, that's helpful. If he can't, it's a little bit more challenging. So we're gonna get one hand under the kind of the whole shoulder blade like this. So you're gonna put you're gonna come down like I am, and see if you can get down onto him, either one knee. There we go. Good. And then we've got his belt here. So we're gonna do it in unison. So you're gonna have your whole arm even tucked under there. Yeah, there you go. Good. We're gonna stand up together. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna come up, and we're gonna put him back on his chair on the chair. So that takes two people. It's one under the armpit and one on the belt to get him up and back. So that's kind of a completely full dependent transfer. Now, if somebody can, I'm going to take the spot for a second here. If you want to step aside just for a minute. So if somebody can help a little bit, what you want to do is have them, if they can even get onto hands and knees and get one hand here, then what you can do, I demonstrate this. I'm going to do it myself first. So then what they want to do is put one foot forward and then transfer like this. That's a way for the person to do it themselves if they can. If they're kind of in between where they need some help but can't quite do it themselves, then let's have you back here on your hands and knees, and then see if you can put one hand up here on the chair to help you get up just a little bit. Good. Come on all the way up tall and put your right foot in front. Good. And then we're going to do this together, and we're going to say 1, 2, 3. You're going to stand up part way and then sit right on the chair. 1, 2, 3, up and in the chair. So that way I can help him with that. That transfer. So there's a few different scenarios. If you're on your own, it's pretty tough if they're completely dependent, to minimize the chances of you hurting yourself, especially if you have a ratio that they're a little heavier than you are strong. I would ideally recommend 2 people.
Okay, so we always want to do it in a 2-part. So from the floor to the chair, from the chair to the bed. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, if they're all the way on the floor, yeah, you want to get them up you want to first get them safe. So if they fall in a way that their knee kind of bends underneath them, or they kind of crumple under the floor rather than a kind of a clean fall, kind of untangle them first and make sure that they're in a comfortable, or knee and the rest of them is in a comfortable position. You want to do a kind of a quick assessment, because if there's a hip fracture, an acute fracture, it can get kind of dangerous. So you don't want to do this kind of transfer, obviously, on a broken hip. So you have to kind of do a quick assessment, not that you're going to diagnose a broken hip, but if they can move their legs around a little bit and they're not in acute pain, you just need to physically get them into a safer position. Then those are 2 options for getting them up into the chair, or into either a wheelchair or just another position.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Any other questions in the chat?
What if I don't have a gait belt?
Then you can use the back of the pants.
Oh,
If it's stretchy pants, it's harder because you don't have an ability to move their waist, their pelvis. So because you want to get some level of up, but you want to get an element of back. So your kind of vectors, if you think in terms of that, are kind of in both directions. So you don't want to just lift somebody because it's really, really difficult. They can get very heavy. What you want to do is shift their body weight onto their legs and then provide a little bit of a lift, but what you're really doing is shifting them back onto the chair. So that's why you get it. That's why you get that.
I heard you earlier, and I'm like, okay, that's really smart.
Yeah, it can be a lot easier. Okay, good. Somebody asked about, you were also asking about falling out of bed. The ways to minimize the chances of falling out of bed is kind of to see why they're falling. If there's somebody who just kind of, one leg just kind of happens to drag over the edge of the bed, or there's lots of things you can do. If you're in the home setting, you have lots of options because you can use whatever you want. If you're in a board and care facility or assisted living facility, it gets a little trickier because there's regulations about what constitutes a constraint. Or so that gets a little tricky, but you can use something as basic as pillows lined up, or there are some like half rolls that have some Velcro on them that can provide a barrier so that they can't fall off. Or if you are going to use just pillows so that they don't just knock them on the floor, put the pillows under the fitted sheet so that it forms more of a barrier. Okay, and let's see, was there just another question about if they fall on the floor, how do you position them while getting help? Okay, and then just to make sure that they're, well, this is getting into a little bit of a CPR type of scenario. If they're really in a position of an emergency where they can't be left alone, you need to call for help, like yell for help to try to get somebody, or on the phone. But if you can get them to a position where they're kind of on their side, if they're at risk of vomiting, or if they're at risk of having a seizure, you want to get them into a position where they're not going to hurt themselves. So that would be in a partial sideline position. Okay, so I'm going to go right into, let's see if I can close that again. Okay, so let's go into standing and walking next. So if they've got let's see if they're using either a walker of some sort. Just want to show you, kind of make sure how to walk with them. So go ahead and stand up here, and you can put your hands right on here. So if I'm going to be walking with him, if he can hold on to, if he's the abilities to be able to walk with the walker, Again, I'm gonna make sure this is, the gait belt is tight enough, or if he's wearing regular pants with a belt, that works just as well. And sometimes that works better because if it's going through loops, it's actually holding his whole pelvis, whereas this is kind of an independent unit. So I actually like a belt better. So if you're working with somebody who wears pants and wears a belt, I think that works even better than a gait belt, in my opinion. Okay, so if I'm walking with someone, and let's say they are, let's move back just a little bit so we've got some space. So here we go, good. So if I'm walking with someone, again, I want to be real close to them so that I have one hand that's available if they're able to go ahead and take just a few steps. So I've got my hands here, so I'm walking with them. And again, if you're about to fall, let's say he decides he's going to fall backwards. I'm much more likely to catch him if I'm right here. But if I'm just holding a gait belt or walking next to him, and if he loses his balance, it's much less likely. So it is on a case-by-case basis. If your person is pretty competent with the walker and does pretty well, and you just need to be there next to them, you just want to be available so that you could get into that position as quickly as possible. But if they're either just getting back into walking again or don't walk very well, it gets a little tricky. Now, if I am going to have a wheelchair behind him, there is a way I can walk. If I'm just like, they might need to sit like right now, and I don't want to be in the middle of nowhere. So in that case, if I hold the gait belt with one hand, and you can turn and I can see I'm holding it here. So this is a good position. Then I can hold the wheelchair behind him, and if he falls, then I just say, oh, we're good. So he could sit at any moment. If he needs two hands with him, I'm going to use that same position, one hand under the arm, one hand onto the belt. And I'm going to kind of bring the wheelchair with me with my foot and drag it along every 2 steps and bring it right behind him. So that's what I do when I'm working with someone and I'm by myself, especially if I don't know the person real well. And I don't know if they give out, if their legs give out, I need to be ready to get them into a chair, not onto the ground, ideally. So those are the positions that I think are most helpful. I want to open it up for the last few minutes to your questions. Thank you, Drew, so much for helping. To open it up to your questions or positions that you have some concern on. Again, you're welcome to just use the chat, or you're welcome to just raise your hand if you'd rather. Or you can just shout out. Small enough group.
I have a question. So, like when you're going to an appointment, you know how you park, and sometimes the higher you go, the parking structure, and you park, you're like at a slant.
Mm.
Now, with my mom, normally I either grab her like this, or sometimes she'll put her arm around like this. But I
Can't
don't
see you
feel
real well, but try that
so,
again.
like sometimes like I'll put my arm out and she'll
Oh,
put
I
her
see.
arm like this,
Okay.
or vice versa. And
Okay.
so for me, I feel like that's not really safe. Like if she were to fall, I would really have to react really fast. So I was just wondering if there's something more that I could do to make it
Yeah.
safe.
So can I bring you back? Okay, so if I have my person here, so if you have your mom, so if rather than having her grab onto you, because if
Yeah.
she's grabbing onto you, you're
She'll
kind of
put it
dependent.
underneath. Yeah, she'll do that.
Yeah, because then if she falls, you're not really in a good position to help her. So what I
Yeah.
would say instead is have your hand on her. Now, is she using a walker or anything?
No, not right now.
Okay,
No.
she's just walking. I would
Mm.
put your hand on her and have her you can just stand here. I just needed a body. I would just put your hand on her and then have her in this position. Or if she feels more comfortable, you could have this hand, but you have this hand available to help her. So that I've got my hand here, or I've
Put the
got my
hand
hand
in the
on
back.
her pants.
Yeah.
This hand is available. If she loses her balance any which way, I can catch her. But if we're holding
Okay.
hands here, I've got to
Right.
go all the way to this position, and it's more risky.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anybody else?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
love it.
yes. Hi. I have someone that walks on his own, but his legs give out from under him. It's as if he's doing the limbo. His knees are highly bent and he's leaning backwards, like he's doing the limbo. He thinks he's standing up straight. Should I walk behind him so I can catch him if he falls, or should I walk next to him?
I would still say that same hand position is appropriate.
Walking
Standing,
next to him.
yeah, standing to his side with your arm around him. Does he have, what is his medical condition, if you don't mind me asking?
We're exploring that now. I
Okay,
think it's,
okay.
yeah.
I was just asking because folks with Parkinson's have a propensity to do more backward leaning and backward propulsion. So that's why I was just asking if it was maybe Parkinson's. But
So stand on the side with your arm around the person
yeah,
rather than behind to catch, because that's not so safe.
that's not as safe. If you're behind him, number one, I mean, he could just melt. Like you said, his knees go forward and then his body goes backwards. So
Mhm.
you're not as likely to catch him in a position. And even if you do catch him, then what? You're kind of in a stuck position. So if you're kind of right there next to him, your arm is around him, even if he falls backwards, you can shift your weight. Again, the shifting is going to be much more successful and less injurious to you than if you were to try to reach out and catch him. But just be prepared, Marion, that if he does, you want to be able to have a plan. If he loses his balance and there's not a chair in sight, you can lower him to the ground that way. Can I show you that again?
Yes.
So if he were, yeah, go ahead, come on here. So if I'm working with her, take a few steps forward, and I needed to lower her to the ground. Here's a strategy that hopefully this will show. Let me see if I can go ahead and fall backwards. I can go down onto one knee and I can catch her here.
Oh, wow.
That's one strategy now that kind of depends on your body as well, if you can get into this position pretty quickly. But I've done that with people when I'm walking with them, and if they just collapse, I just say, oh, okay, here we go. We're okay. And then we give them a second. And I'm fine here. I'm in a really comfortable position. I can give them a second, and then we can potentially get back up from here. Or if that's not going to happen, because they're just, kind of relaxed in this position, then I could take you and I could lower you to the floor from here.
When the same person is going up or down a small set of stairs, should I be behind him or next to him?
Oh, stairs, that's a good thought. Go ahead and stand up here. So stairs, if you want to be on the down slope from stairs. Going downstairs is more scary and more dangerous than upstairs. Because if you're walking up the stairs, if they fall, they're not going to fall as far, right? So going up the stairs, same handhold. If they have a hand on a rail, that's great. They can use that, and you can be in this position going up the stairs. If they can hold on to either a cane, or better yet, something more stable like a rail, that would work really well. And then going down the stairs, I want to be kind of one step below them, going down the stairs, so that if they do take a nosedive or start falling forward, I'm able to get in front of them and not let them use their momentum to travel. Because if I'm behind her and she starts falling down the stairs, we're both potentially going down. So I want to be one step down from her.
Always on the side.
Oh, on the side, but still a little bit in front when I'm going down. Okay, good question. Yeah. Anybody else? I've got a few more minutes before I've got to go teach a class.
I do. Any
Yeah.
suggestions on getting in and out of the tub?
Okay, if
And
it's like a seated bathtub.
It's a regular tub, but we do have a chair inside, but it is very narrow. So we're removing the doors already, the sliding doors that were on the bathroom.
Okay.
And we're kind of seeing if it's something that we have to remodel the bathroom, but right now it's getting him in and out of there. Again, it's the same condition. Sometimes he's very good and can do it himself, and other times he needs more assistance. And it is a very small, so there's a sink, and then it's just basically the human body, and then it's into the bathroom or into the shower. So
Okay,
any
there's
suggestions to not injure ourselves?
There's a few pieces of equipment that can help. One is kind of a bench chair, sliding chair, where the two of the legs are inside the shower or the tub, and two of the legs are out. So it's kind of a more of a longer bench. And then they can kind of shift their weight over into and then lift their legs. So they don't have to step over the lip of the bed or the shower. So that they can remain seated, getting in and out. The other options are making sure you've got really good secure grab bars so that step, they're not holding onto a swinging door. They're not holding onto something, definitely not towel racks because those aren't secure, but something that they can hold on with two hands to something secure if they do have to take a step or they're capable of taking a step. But if they
Okay, so
can't
we do
step
have
in,
grab bars.
say it again.
We do have grab bars.
You have grab bars. Okay. Do you want to make sure you've got ideally two and they're placed in an ideal position so that he can hold on with two hands. And then if he's able to lift the leg all the way in, then same thing. I mean, the tricky thing is you've got a naked body or a body that they don't have clothes and belts on when you're doing shower chair. So it gets a little bit trickier, but that's why the sliding chair can work really well. To There's ones that have a seat that actually it's like on a
Swivel.
track and they can slide
Okay.
slide out. You can look online for those. But even just a bench, if they're strong enough to be able to just do like a transfer like this, they can move over on the bench without having to stand up and step over an object or an obstacle.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I think I've got to wrap it up, but my contact information, you can reach out to me anytime. I might, let's see, I can leave my phone number maybe if that's okay. Let's see, can I put it in the chat? I'm going to leave my phone number and my email here. So if you have a question, you are welcome to email me, or you can even call me or text me. I'm pretty approachable there. And then my phone number, this is my direct phone number. So if you want to either call or like I said, I do home visits. So if you have a complicated question, I need to schedule a home visit, we can look into that as well if you're in the Orange County area. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. I appreciate your
Very
time. I
much.
know it's busy. You guys are doing great work, and I wish you all the best. If you have any questions at all, reach out.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Bye.
My pleasure.
And
Thank
for
you.
everyone
Have a great day.
You too. And for everyone, I will be emailing out Chris's information as well as the handout and any recording. So be
Cool.
on the lookout in your email. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Abby.
You.
Thank you, Abby.
Great class.
Great class.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful, blessed day, y'all.
Thanks.